Okay, I want to show you guys something very odd. This is a video that Dave and I were working on for you guys, just to show y'all, watch what's really going on. The whole political scene is a complete wag the dog. And even though the players that are involved in it don't really realize it's a wag the dog, it is a complete wag the dog by Lucifer. Now, this video that we just did was posted, look, let me show you, October 31st, like 30 minutes ago. Okay, I asked Dave to do some editing for me, and I was gonna screencast this video. Let me show you something. This is that video right here. Hillary can't blame the Russians. Watch now. Not found. So they're knocking it down. I mean, they knocked it down within 30 minutes. So, or some other bizarre errors going on that I don't understand. But watch, I'll try and go to it again. It's gone. So there it is, gone. But I still have the previous links up. I never dropped them. So this link is still there. So let's watch this video. Let's watch this video, and then I'll make a comment here at the end. Okay, let's go.
Russia has been making U.S. headlines filled with allegations of stirring up public distrust ahead of November's presidential elections. Our correspondent, Gana Chichikyan, has the story.
Russia, if you're listening.
Pressure that Russia's putting on our European allies.
In friendship with Russia.
Russian intelligence services.
Russia.
Russian people.
Russia.
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 Hillary Clinton has persistently insinuated that the Russian president is trying to interfere in the U.S. presidential election and get Donald Trump elected. She and her campaign have suggested that it was Russia that leaked thousands of emails of the Democratic Party, which showed that the party used its resources to undermine Bernie Sanders in her favor.
Hillary Clinton's campaign has again accused the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks of collaborating with the Russian government.
The timing of this leak, what are you hearing from inside these campaigns?
Well, the Clinton campaign certainly believes that their connection to the Russian government and that the timing is intended to embarrass them. I mean, this came out on the Friday before the convention started. They do expect that there will be more leaks and that it could go on for several more weeks, if not months.
No, is that these are hacked emails that were stolen by Russia.
Right. They haven't denied it.
What? Excuse me. Let's point out, Russia's already been documented, editing emails they released during the Democratic convention. And
She knew it just like the American people know it, David.
The real outrage here,
that
and
they
I'm surprised
wanted to get away with it. That's why they didn't put it out there that she was using the private server.
Can we stop embracing Russia's strategy of undermining our democracy by validating their emails and watching Donald Trump, in fact, embrace this effort to sabotage? Let's be clear about this. The fact that Russia is, in fact, undermining our democracy, trying to sabotage our election, and we're not talking about that Donald Trump is embracing Vladimir Putin's agenda. And in fact,
talk about the emails? Are you going to defend her or not?
No, because the issue, Megan, you can't talk about the emails because you have no idea if they're valid. What we do know is it's been documented.
For 10 years, Megan, for 10 years, everything WikiLeaks has released has been accurate. For 10 years. There's no question about it.
And Russia doesn't spread false stories. David, Russia is, in fact, undermining our democracy. Russia is, in fact, undermining our democracy.
More like the Clintons are undermining our democracy.
Very clearly quoting from WikiLeaks, and what's really important about WikiLeaks is that the Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks for the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election.
But increasingly, we are seeing cyber attacks coming from states, organs of states. The most recent and troubling of these has been Russia.
Russians. Let's not forget that these emails came from a hack from a foreign state entity, namely the Russians, That's been identified by the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI.
Congressman. These emails, we have no idea whether they are authentic or not, or whether they've been tampered with once the Russians, which 17 American intelligence agencies say are responsible for these hackings.
These are connected to a Russian government propaganda effort to destabilize the election.
These are leaks that are being manipulated by the Russians.
The Russians are intervening in the election on behalf of Donald Trump.
WikiLeaks is part of that, as are other sites where the Russians
have landed.
This whole dang island's under attack by Russia.
The Russian government.
The Russians are,
and I know that the talking point from the Clinton campaign is this is the Russians trying to infiltrate.
The Russian government.
The Russians have captured the airport. Yeah.
The Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. The Russian government. The Russians
are coming! The Russians are coming!
The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
The Russian government. Russian aggression?
Russian aggression? What is she talking about?
Yeah.
Hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. Maybe even some state election systems.
And first off, we've got to have ourselves a leader. That's right. The Democratic way. That's the way I'd be for. Let's do it the Republican way. Have nominations and a proper election. But that might take time. So I'm going to suggest an alternate. Anybody wants to be leader ought to step up here right now.
Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States.
Listen very carefully. Remember, Satan is the father of lies. So when anyone lies, Satan is speaking through that host body. Remember what you just got through hearing? The Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians.
I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States. I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States. I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. A nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. A nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan.
What a great way to start World War III. Nuke yourself. Obama's going to nuke the United States. He's the Antichrist. It's the end of days. And this is how they're going to do it. Pay attention. That's why all these images are in your U.S. currency, folks. Watch what you're looking at. Listen. In Manhattan.
In Manhattan.
Hillary Camp plays Blame the Russians. But what's printed on your U.S. currency? What's printed on the U.S. currency? Manhattan. What was printed on the old U.S. currency? Twin Towers and the other stuff. The Pentagon and the federal building bombing. And what's printed on the new currency? Manhattan. Manhattan. Manhattan.
Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States. I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan.
Just think of the devil speaking through a host body.
Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States. I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. Russia's actions are a problem. They don't pose the #1 national security threat to the United States. I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. 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 In Manhattan. In Manhattan. In Manhattan.
Because it's printed on the U.S. currency, that's why. And now Hillary's like, oh, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. Oh, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. Oh, the Russians, the poor Hillary. Oh, she didn't do all these bad things. It's the Russians. Don't pay any attention to all the lies and people I've killed and all the horrible stuff she's done. No, it's the Russians, it's the Russians, it's the Russians. It's on your money. Right there. See? Right there. 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 It's all a big wag the dog by the devil. The whole thing. People, see, let me explain something to y'all. The entire human race is a bunch of puppets. And Satan is the god of this world. He uses them like puppets. And he's eradicating any other race of beings within the human race to destroy it. To create his own race, a host body for himself. And I'm telling you, I guarantee you, what's coming is right here on U.S. currency. Do you think they took the time to make these images and actually not do them? Well, let's just use some cognitive reasoning skills. Did they print the other bombings on the other U.S. currency notes, like the Twin Towers? The answer is yes. What about the Pentagon? The answer is yes. What about the Federal Building? The answer is yes. Did they proceed forth with those bombings? The answer is yes, again, on all fronts. So did they produce these images not to do them? The answer is a resounding no. Don't get caught up in this BS going on, folks. Pay attention.